Welcome to Healing Hype Man. This is going to be a little mini series on the wounded healer, your Chiron placement. I'm going to talk about why I'm talking about it. There is a transit that's taking place. Chiron is coming out of retrograde. And in the following videos, you'll be able to look at your Chiron placement and perhaps where your wound might be that is asking you to heal a part of you. Your Chiron placement in astrology typically is associated with your deepest wounds and the effort that you put into healing them. Yes, we're talking about trauma, right? And in my videos here, I'm going to try to incorporate tarot at the same time, or what your sign implies from a tarot perspective, as well as a mental health component, since we are talking about things like lack of self-esteem, wounds that you have that you were brought into this world with from a past life, or perhaps a traumatic experience that happened while you're in the wound. And I hope you understand that, right? That people can say things and situations can happen around you while you're in the wound that sticks. Everything that you say and you do while you're in the wound sticks. Or it could be something that happened to you while you were a child. Again, only take this if it resonates with you, if it matches your Chiron placement. And the reason that I'm talking about this, I wouldn't be Healing Hype Man if we didn't talk about our wounds, right? We all have the capacity to be a healer. And what labels you as a healer, a shaman, a medicine man, right? Back in the day, it used to be shamans and medicine men. Was being able to heal thyself, and that is a big component to Chiron. It's you finding the way. It's internal. It's nothing to do with people that did things to you. It's about you healing yourself, and perhaps your Chiron placement resonates with you, and it's something you've been carrying, or it's an experience. It's almost like the universe knew, like in this lifetime, you're going to experience this. You're going to experience Chiron and Gemini in the first house, and part of your mission here on earth is to heal that part of you. And that's what I'm here to talk about, right? I'm Healing Hype Man. I want us to all heal parts of ourselves. Sometimes we're familiar with them. Sometimes we're unfamiliar. Sometimes they're conscious and they're unconscious parts of us. So let's kind of dive into this, right? So on the 23rd of December, Chiron is doing a placement, a transit. It is coming out of retrograde and is going into Aries, right? What does that mean? I feel, right, what's happening is we are getting a push, and it's like a massive push. You're going to have like a sense of urgency to like want to heal this part of you, or you're realizing that I've been doing this. Oh my gosh. And for some of you, you might go from in recovery, right? Like recovery as in like I'm healing, to feeling healed. But also remember that parts of you that you heal will never go away. The body will always keep score. Trauma does not go away. It can be replaced with another positive experience, but it might linger and it might come up. But the concept in healing yourself is to lower that part of you, that defensive part of you, or that inadequate part of you, or that low self-esteem part of you, and step into who you actually are, right? Your mission here on earth is to heal that part of you. And once you do heal that part of you, right, you can call yourself recovered, right? In the addiction world, they don't even use the term recovered, and I am 100% against that, because the person that you become once you heal thyself, or heal a part of you, or understand a part of you, you don't even know what that person looks like, right? So because this transit is going into Aries is really impatient, and it's a little bit of like competitive at the same time, like go-getter Aries energy. So some of us might have the stamina. Jupiter is also moving into Aries, right? We're like, okay, I want to get this part of me over with, or I want to heal this part of me, or I want to take initiative in making the steps into being a better person. And I'm saying this here, like the reason why I like the term recovered is because not only will you find yourself again, right? The definition of recovered is to find something again. Not only will you find yourself, you will find yourself and more. more than you have ever imagined. It's something that you don't even know. You've never felt. You don't understand. I would have never guessed that if I would have went through my darkness and I would have healed those parts of me, that I'd be sitting here talking to you about this, doing what I'm doing in my life, showing up how I show up in my life. And there's no one that can tell me like, oh, you're not recovered. Like, fuck you. Like, who? Not only did I find myself, not only is my thread connected to source thicker and bigger than it ever was, how am I not recovered and even better than before? So I push you all to use this Aries energy to explore those parts of you that could have been traumatized from a past life or when you were a child, because the version of you that is on the other side is something that you don't even understand yet. You don't even know, you won't even recognize. I promise you that. So use this Aries energy to go forward. There might be a lot of like speediness, but at the same time, nobody really wants to. It's not really comfortable in Aries because nobody really wants to like, oh yeah, let me go after my triggers. Let me go after tough times. Let me go and seek to understand why this hurts. So I get that part. But I think that there might be an initiative or like a fire lit under us that's like, let me do this because I want to be something even better and I don't want to linger on to this anymore. Here in my videos, I'm definitely going to talk about, I'm going to incorporate a little bit of tarot, and then I'm going to incorporate a clinical perspective as well, because we are talking about traumas. We're talking about wounds. So I'm going to give you a clinical perspective, a spiritual perspective, and a clinical perspective at the same time. Now, how you find Chiron in your chart, you do need to have your date of birth, your time of birth, and the location. You can go to cafeastrology.com, or you can just Google free birth chart, and you will look for Chiron, your Chiron placement. It looks like a key. Once you know the sign, it's typically a sign in a house, then you can go to the other videos. I'm not sure how many there are going to be. There might be 12, like one for each sign, and there might just be 2. And we'll dive deep into those aspects of yourself, right? Before we get to that, right, let's get the full background here. Who is Chiron? What is Chiron? Why is Chiron there? In Greek mythology, Chiron was a centaur. He was a centaur, half man, half horse, and he happened to be half god. Because he was like related to Zeus through like infidelity. There's some weird stuff there. And so he was adopted by Apollo. Apollo is the god of music, poetry, philosophy. So Chiron was the healer, and he healed wounds. And I don't mean trauma wounds. I mean like battle wounds, scars, sickness, illness, right? So he went around healing people. And one day he was in a battle with Hercules. Yes, he hangs out with Hercules. And Hercules hit him with a poisonous arrow. And the poisonous, because he is a god, he cannot die. But he was permanently wounded, implying the wounded healer. So he went around suffering through his pain, but still healing other people. That is a massive component to healers, that we carry around our suffering, and we tend to be a healer in an area of our life that resonates with us, because as we help heal, we heal ourselves. We heal thyself. Healing thyself, it also correlates to Carl Jung, which is a psychologist from back in the day. He pretty much founded the mental health and psychology that we look at now. But he was deep into like shadow work and death and sex and family, right? So let me not go deep into that. I love that though. So Chiron walked around healing people, but he was wounded at the same time. They ended up giving him the constellation of Sagittarius. So when you see that constellation of half man, half horse with a bow and arrow, that happens to be Chiron. Let's see what else I have here. And he was known as a teacher, the medicine man. He went around healing people. He also had a family. His wife did some weird things and had sex while she was pregnant, and she died, and he saved the baby. And Greek mythology has so much wealth of knowledge if you want to get into the philosophy behind it as well. So I'm talking about this because Chiron is moving into Aries, and perhaps this message and this download here is an insight to like, let me dive deep into this part of me. And again, we'll get into the clinical perspective and a spiritual perspective as we move on. And we all have the capacity to be our own healer. We all have the capacity to be a healer, right? And if you're not resonating with that, we all have the capacity to be a healer, because what does that mean? That means that you have sat in darkness and you have healed thyself, and now you go out and heal others. So for those of you that can heal through this, all of us, we're going to, right? You heal yourself. There is a natural act of service where you now want to go out and help others, and you actually make great counselors, guides, therapists, This could be your niche, right? You want to have a niche on Instagram or whatever platform, and it has to do with healing. It's probably going to correlate to what your Chiron placement is or what you have been through. That's what makes a true healer. It's just getting out of the darkness and sharing how you did that, or holding space for people who have similar feelings, who have sat in pain, who have sat in this at the same time. That similarity is so important, right? If you're working with someone and it's just not clicking and they're not vibing and understanding you, find yourself someone that is similar to you, that understands your experiences, your traumas, and your wounds at the same time. So with this placement taking place, we might get a little jolt. We might get a little bit of like, oh, I want to dive into this. Or maybe you're even going to realize that you have already been doing the work. And now you're at that point where you're like, wow, I understand this part of me, and now I want to share with others. So yeah, that's what I have to say there. Let me see if I have any other notes here. And just to start us off here, so the wound is the entry point to the soul's journey. Your wound is your entry point into the journey of finding your true self. Ironically, the Fool, card 0, the story of the tarot is the Fool's journey. He is willing and able to go and jump off the cliff thinking he's prepared, but he's not quite sure what he's getting into. So we start off this series here with the Fool. Like, this is going to be a journey. Not a lot of people want to talk about darkness and things that they sat in. And I certainly do. Because I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for my darkness, and I wouldn't be empowering you to do the same thing because it works. No one wants to talk about it. If you're content with your life and you don't want to enhance your life or see a different version of you that you've never experienced, then you can certainly, whatever suits your boat. But I always look at astrology, looking at your North Node, your Chiron placement. Let's fulfill your life's purpose by healing this part of you, by healing this aspect of you if it resonates. Maybe some of the other signs will also resonate with you. But it's almost like the universe knew. I'm going to put you in this lifetime, in this body, on this planet, and this is an experience you're going to go through. And it's about how you can heal thyself. It all comes from you. Typically, it has to do with feelings of inadequacy, low self-esteem, some sort of trauma, some sort of lack mentality, right? So we're talking about some trauma here, things that just linger, and at the same time can hold you back from being who you truly want to be. So I'm going to give you a little example of my Chiron placement. So my Chiron placement, to give you an example, I have Chiron in Gemini in the first house. I have a lot in Gemini. This is now four signs in Gemini. In the first house, that's 4 for me. So for me, when I was a child, I probably had, those who have Gemini, you were told you're not smart enough. You were told what you have to say is not valid. You're probably afraid to even go on camera and speak what you want to speak about because you don't feel like you're smart enough. And you always have to overcompensate and communicate things over and over and over again. And for those of you that follow me, you know that I do this. I repeat things over and over again because I feel like what I have, not because I feel, I just do it naturally, but perhaps it's because I feel like you didn't get it the first time, or what I said wasn't enough, right? And they tend to always also like be afraid to be on camera. So if you can see where I'm going here, I healed parts of myself where now I'm brave enough to be on camera and talk about things that I'm not 100% certain on, but I'm interested in, and I'm sharing the knowledge that I've learned because it's worked for me. So I think I'm aligning with my wounded healer here. But and just to give you a short story here, in the first grade, I was held back because I was told that I didn't know how to read. So I think that might have been the very first point of when I got that download of like, you're not smart enough. Nor did I ever think that I'd be in a master's program, and I always felt inadequate, and I had to overcompensate when it comes to work, and I had to outshow people and work harder than I probably needed because I thought I wasn't the smartest person in the room. Because in first grade, I was told I couldn't read and I was held back. Could have happened in a past life, could have happened in the wound as well. So I'm going to leave you there. So there's going to be a couple videos after this. They're going to come out sporadically. I'm not sure how or when I'm going to post this, but you can look it up yourself. Look your chart up on cafeastrology.com or wherever you get your chart. Look at your sign and look at the house. Mine was also in the first house, so it was about I transmuted. I always feel like I'm not successful, like myself. I feel like I'm not successful enough, which I can really. Those of you that follow me, you see that sometimes I have that lack mentality of like, oh, I'm not good enough to do this, or I don't know what I'm talking about. But look where I'm at now. So check out your Chiron placement. Looking forward to watching you in the other ones, and we will see each other soon.